Give that vote.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Now, see, this guy knows basketball.
That is what you are looking for today at 3:30 when Jerry Reynolds joins us. That is the goal of the day. Can you get a? That's a great question. See, this guy really knows basketball. By the way, we have so much content that could carry the day without Jerry Reynolds to get to. It might carry over into tomorrow. But what's going on? You know, Scott Perry had media availability today. Something brewing in San Francisco right now. I'm not supposed to talk about it traditionally if you go by baseball standards. Let's just say that it's not in your favor if you are a Giants fan. And there's 3 more things that need to be done for that thing to be complete. You get my drift? Because I don't want to curse the guy that's doing it right now. And I don't want to take viewership away from here either. But those are back-to-back home runs by the Blue Jays, actually. 10-0. So yeah, stay here. Don't go watch that. Anyways, I have something that's brewing. It's not going to be popular. It will definitely get a lot of pushback. It will be against the grain, but it's something that's feeling more and more real to me every time I am around Scott Perry, when I hear from the brass of this organization, not named Vivek Ranadive. And understand, 2 things can be true at once. You could be a bad basketball team with 22 wins, but that doesn't mean that there isn't some really good stuff brewing. And I'm not ready to go there yet, but I'm close. And when I do, I'm going to get a lot of pushback from all of you. But Scott Perry met with the media today. We're going to play some of that for you. I will tell you now, the audio is not perfect. It's only on one side of your ear. Best we could do. So I apologize for that. Jerry, he'll be full stereo. You don't have to worry about him. He'll be ready to go. I want to play this. I asked Doug Christie a question before we get to Scott Perry. I asked Doug Christie at exit interviews, just like actually, you know what? I think the question's included. Here you go. Check this out.
Hey, Coach. Just like the rookies got an extended opportunity this season, it feels like you faced much more than a coach usually does in their first year in that seat. I'm wondering if any confidence you take, or what do you take from that and apply to the next season?
Good question. You know, as an athlete, you grow up and to like on the outside looking in, this is like, whoa. And this is a lot, but you kind of made for it or you're not. You keep fighting, you come with the right mentality, or that starts to break down and you see that. Me in this position, I try to come with the right disposition, the right mindset, clean it, rinse it, let's go again. The learning inside of that is probably the biggest gift, and that's that sit back and look. And luckily, I have 2 incredible mentors and leaders that help me, because they see the game differently in Scott and BJ than a lot of people. So it's easy for me to lean on them. Sometimes they probably be like, damn, man. But I lean on them because I know that when you talk about knowledge and battles and fighting and
That'll do,
where they
Donkey.
come from, like
That'll do.
that for me is an invaluable piece of growth that I just dive into. So, you know, this job is one of the biggest hurdles that I've ever faced, but I truly enjoy it, and I think I must enjoy pain a little bit because it's a lot of fun, man. I really have a fun doing my job, and I know that what's on the other side of what we experienced is the gratification in going through what we go through. Yeah.
All right. So, really good answer from Doug. Really good answer. Appreciate that from Coach. Did you notice the mentorship part of that answer about him, Scott, BJ, and they seem to be somewhat connected? That's what really kind of stood out to me there. And Coach Christie really is. Do you have decaf or regular coffee? How do you know it's coffee, Dorian? Could be tea. What else could be hot? Hot toddy. I guess that would have tea. No, it's regular coffee. Yeah. I've been trying to, my voice has been getting a little bit drier as shows go. So I have a new routine where I'm trying to drink something hot leading up to the show. Anyways, you're starting to see them, or at least in the media, come together. Now, you look at what the Kings have done this offseason, and a lot more young players coming in. They signed Daquan Plowden. That wasn't just we're going to give you a 15-game run because you're a two-way guy. Scott Perry is giving, and we'll play some clips here before Jerry comes. He's looking for young guys to come and take an opportunity, make the most of an opportunity. And what I took away from today's press conference, the number one thing that I took away from today's press conference is that this is the young guys' team, and the veterans who are coming back are going to be expected to fit in with the young guys and pour in to the young guys and not the other way around. Meaning Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, they're going to have to fit the style that the young guys are playing. You are not going to play to their styles. That's my takeaway. Because it's very clear that both of those guys were part of the offseason, trying to move them, possibly, as Scott talks about here in a few minutes. But you couldn't do it. It was too hard to flip the top of that roster because the contracts just were not that good. And there's a line that you can see in Scott Perry's rhetoric between the guys that he's appraising, and this is strictly my opinion, he's appraising as part of the solution. Like, they want to build this thing right. They want to turn this into a winner. And the guys that are going to be here to contribute to that until said time when contracts are up or they are traded. It seemed like a super clear line for me today. Maybe I'm the only one that took that away. One thing that was for sure, I thought this might have been one of the most genuine answers of the day. I held true on this with DeMar DeRozan. I said, I would like to have him back. I think he played really well with the young guys. I thought he complemented what some of the young guys did. By the way, Jerry Reynolds joining us here in about 20 minutes, so get your questions ready for him. I thought he really poured into them as much as they kind of poured into him as well, gave him that extra energy. And so when Scott was asked about DeMar, here's what he had to say.
First of all, let me say this about DeMar DeRozan. DeMar, I've been in the league 26 years, and he was one of my favorite players to work with, by none. And I've worked with some great players, some Hall of Fame players during my career. But his professionalism, his leadership, the way he went about preparing for his job each and every day, exemplary, and how he poured into our young players last year, our rookies, was very important and very much appreciated. So, since the season is over, when we could start looking at different moves to make, we were trying to figure out ways how we could keep him. But as we all know, one of the things in this league, there is a financial component to to this job, and so unfortunately, we weren't able to figure out or do anything that would allow us to keep him from that standpoint. But I'm going to miss him. I'll be honest with you.
Like I said, audio is not perfect. It is not stereo. It's mono. So sorry about that. I wanted to give you the video with the audio rather than just looking at my mug with audio playing. So it's not perfect, but I'm pretty sure you can hear it. Okay. So then Scott was asked about, the offseason, knowing that there was not going to be a ton they could do with free agency. However, they were able to get Precious Achua back, which was really important. And then I thought it was very interesting. To me, this was a call to action for the guys that are going to Vegas, especially your Suttons, players like that could maybe continue to have a little bit of an impact. It's a call to action. Come take our third two-way spot. Here's what Scott had to say.
Absolutely.
No hitter broken,
Great to get
by the way.
Precious back here this year. That was very important to us because he had options. Could have gone elsewhere, but he wanted to be here. I think he came here last year searching for a place that he could call home. He quickly established himself the way he competed each and every night at both ends of the floor. He's a versatile athlete. And again, I can't say it enough. I love having guys here that want to be here and that are invested in something that they think that they can build into something bigger than just themselves. And Precious embodies that. And Daquan Plowden, I mean, he should be an example to a number of players that are aspiring to be in the NBA. Hardworking. We brought him here last year on our summer league team, gave him an opportunity to compete. He caught our eye. We gave him a two-way contract coming out of summer league because he performed so well. And not only did he took that, went into the G League season, was one of the top performers in the G League. Anytime we had him play with the Kings, he brought effort and energy. And so, again, having people like that play hard every day, that compete, that will defend, that are about the team, you can't have enough of those guys. And so, in my job, when you're able to reward somebody like that, that's very rewarding because that young man has worked extremely hard to get here, and we're so happy that we can have him back on this team.
So, a lot of talk about, and by the way, Scott seemed a little winded. I hope he's okay. He did. Is it just me? He seemed a little winded. Maybe he just got done working out. Anyways, talked about the point guard position. It has been the position that has taken all of the media's spotlight and really the spot that has not been filled on this team, truly filled. And Doug talked about it. I've hammered you over the head with that soundbite about Doug and his idea of what a point guard will be. Scott ends up taking some questions about the point guard position and Russell Westbrook. Very interesting the way he answered about Russ. But before that, what about Zach LaVine? What's his role going to be? And this is the first time where it's like, all right, yeah, the vets are going to be expected to fit in, not be the team. Here's Scott again.
Well, Zach and I have been in communication since the season is over. We have a very good relationship and good understanding. And Zach is still an excellent basketball player. He knows what's expected of him coming back here this year. I'm very clear with him on that. He'll be the first to tell you that. And I think he's ready to come back and embrace that and perform to the best of his ability this year. So we can use a lot of the things that Zach LaVine is able to do on the basketball floor. So I'm looking forward to him taking a step forward with us this year and how we want to play the game.
Scott, when you look at the point guard position, Darius Acuff, of course, is going to be your starting point guard after drafting him. But that backup position, is that someone that you possibly will look elsewhere for, or is that someone already on the roster?
We'll continue to evaluate that through the summer. Obviously we're getting ready to go to Las Vegas and watch Summer League play there. So we'll be open to any opportunity to help gets us better, whether that is someone that's not currently on the roster, or maybe we feel that we have enough on our roster that we can kind of fill that gap or that void in terms of being a backup point guard. So that's a very important position, and we'll make sure that we give it the proper attention that we need to.
On the roster, who is options on the roster currently right now?
Well, I mean, I think Malik Monk has played it in the past. We've seen him do it a little bit. Nick Clifford, we auditioned him a little bit toward the end of the year. In today's game, it's just you need multiple ball handlers on the floor who can just initiate offense. They may not all be quote unquote pure point guards, and I think Darius is showing you quickly that he's going to be able to be that. But so anyway, there's a variety of ways you can go about filling that.
Is bringing Russell Westbrook back one of those options that kind of in your mind considering there?
Russ has always been a favorite of mine, as you know that. Russell Westbrook probably outplayed a minimum contract, which is all we have right now. So that's all I have really to say about him right now.
Scott,
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So, like I said, expectation. If you're just joining us, sorry, the audio is not in both ears for Scott, just one ear. I'm trying to take care of your hearing today. I was thinking about you, but no, wanted it to be video presentation rather than just audio, best I could do. So thanks for hanging in there with that. This is one place where Scott and Doug kind of are not, to me, on the same page, unless what Scott said is Darius Acuff is that guy. We will see as we go along. That being said, I still think this team needs, sorry, Scott, that's not a very flattering picture. Let's maybe come up to here. I still think that this team needs to have a pure backup point guard. Scott's not wrong about having multiple ball handlers on the floor. He's right about that. But for that backup unit, to maximize that backup unit so you're not asking Malik Monk to be the initiator, I'm looking for the Kings to either find that guy that's on the roster right now or to bring that guy in. That veteran minimum, I think that is where it needs to be used. Now, Scott talked about the personality being more important than the position during the press conference, whether it's at point guard, small forward, etc. But I'm looking for that. But very interesting what he said about Russ. I don't think Russ should be back. And to me, that kind of felt like that's all I'm going to say about that. Because I don't know that Scott thinks Russ should be back either. Is that a Vivek Ranadive thing? It sure as hell smells like a Vivek Ranadive thing. It didn't make any sense back then. He kind of went over his GM's head by bringing Russ in when you had your GM 2 weeks before that, 3 weeks before that, sitting on stage with Dennis Schroeder saying that this was the guy that we targeted. He was at the top of the free agency list. We're overpaying him too. And then you bring in Westbrook. So that to me is where there's like, all right, maybe there's some Vivek Ranadive middle ground there. But yeah, you still need to either find that person or get that person on this roster. But interesting to me what he said about Zach LaVine. What did you think about that? Now, as for the team and what they're looking to do, Scott's talked about elite conditioning a lot. We've heard a ton of that. And then we've also heard that they want this team to be the hardest playing team in the NBA. Very cliche. I get that. But here's the bottom line. That's the minimum standard. Like that is the floor. If you are really going to run the young guys start to finish of this season, that's the floor. There cannot be a night that they take off. Now, you're going to have your schedule games. You're going to have some bad nights. But there needs to be a lot more good nights that meet that floor of super competitive, trying not to make the same mistake twice, and at least leaving it on the floor. There needs to be more nights than that, or of that, than of what we saw last season, inconsistency. The only consistency for the Kings last year was inconsistency. You could even go back to the year before that. The Kings had to beat the Kings before they could even play their opponents. And many times they couldn't even get out of that lane. So Scott was asked about the young core and then asked about Domantas Sabonis.
But I stay laser focused on our team and where we're at right now, what we're able to do. And so that's what I'm most concerned with right now is just the growth and development of this younger core that we have this year, and having people around them that can help grow them and build them. So that's really what I'm focused on right now, and concern ourselves about Kings players and Kings basketball and compete the very best we can, and hopefully make a step forward this season.
There's been a lot of discussion on maybe where Domantas Sabonis fits into this team and this roster. Where do you see the expectations for him coming into this season? Where do you see him fitting into your
You have not missed Jerry. He'll be here in about 10 minutes.
into your playing here?
He's going to come in and compete just like everybody else. Obviously, he's an excellent player. He's done it for a while in this league. I've been in constant contact with him as well in the offseason. And so just expect him to come in here healthy first and foremost, which he's trending in that direction. You know, obviously he missed a lot of last year because he was not. And he's always played hard. And so I expect him to do that, provide some veteran presence for this team, and really have a tremendous rebound year and help us build some winning habits here and start heading in the right direction.
Help us build some winning habits here. So to me, it doesn't feel like Domas, and we know this. He's not really, I don't think, in the team's long-term plan. I don't think that's any surprise. He would like to move. The Kings would have liked to move him. So what are you going to do? And it's the right move. I get it. Now, you do need to play to Domas's strengths to get the most out of him, and I think get the most out of the young guys. But it's very much that. We need to realize what it is. It's until Domas can be traded. Now, Domas is going to come out and he's going to play his tail off no matter what. He's not going to be that player. It's not who he is. It's not how he was raised. He's not going to be a distraction. But this is Domas and Zach. It's clear to me that they need to fit in with the young guys and not the other way around. Now, this was interesting. Scott was asked about the league interest in some Sacramento Kings players. Was there any interest? Check it out. It's in the young guys.
You can tell, like, the younger players on our team obviously created a lot of buzz around the league. So, but I don't want to get into it, much more than that. But the key when you're building a program, the more calls you get about players that you have on the roster, that means you're heading in the right direction. And I would say I'm probably getting a few more calls now than I did when I first got here.
Seems like a lot of
Roasted. That was a mic drop for Scott, I think. I think that was some flowers right there. As many flowers as you can have coming off of a 22-win season. This was the more well, that was a very interesting answer. Jerry Reynolds joining us in about 5 minutes. He was asked about there being any frustration with him trying to turn over the top of the roster, the big contracts. Here's what he had to say.
No, I very rarely do I get frustrated. I've told you guys from the very beginning, I'm going to be patient and prudent in what we have to do, and that applies in that situation. Those guys that you're mentioning, they've been good to work with. We have open dialogue, and so all I ask of them is just to buy into what we're doing. They're doing that, and so no frustration. I feel good where we're at entering year 2, but again, it's still a process. We're a long way from the finish line, so let's be clear about that. We're not. But I think we're positioning ourselves now, hopefully, that the fan base, all of you, will start to see the identity, present itself on the court on a nightly basis. That's the first goal when you're talking about building an establishing winner. You want to, every night, you want to be able to see some consistency of that identity, and that's what this year's got to be about.
So that was the meat and potatoes of what Scott had to say today. According to him, we did get a check-in on the hostages and the volunteers.
All the volunteers will show themselves this season. That's what I can tell you.
There's your update. Everybody is a volunteer right now. That was so good for James to ask that. So, anyways, Jerry Reynolds joining us here in about 5 minutes. He's usually early. You know the rule. 5 minutes early is 10 minutes late. So very punctual, Jerry Reynolds is. If you have questions for him about today's press conference, Summer League, Darius Acuff, some other notes coming out of Scott's press conference today, the second-year guys probably will not play a ton of Summer League, but they will play some games. So I would not expect them, and that's not a huge surprise. I think we've said that on the show pretty much since we started talking about Summer League. Also, we'll see about the chemistry. Scott talked about that really developing from being on the court, and then it has to pass through to, off the court and wanting to be together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, nothing that felt chalky to me in this press conference. In fact, I think it is, again, another very solid appearance for Scott, and really his actions are backing up, for the most part. His actions are backing up what his intentions are, what he wants for this team. And very clearly, this is the young players. It's their team. Domas, Zach, they're going to have to fit into it. Now, how does Doug get the most out of them, which in turn probably gets the most to them with their growth? We'll see. But I don't think either Zach or Domas coming off of today clearly are in the future plans for the Kings. Okay, enough about me talking. You don't come here on Wednesdays to hear me talk. You come here on Wednesdays because we are always super lucky to be joined by my buddy, the one, the only, the legend, and basketball genius himself, Jerry Reynolds. What's up, Jer? Happy
Well,
Wednesday.
not much. Great to be with you and the guys. Really always look forward to it. Obviously, it's kind of a fun time of the year when every team is really feels like they're really good.
Right.
You've got to about the 1st of November until it starts settling in. But yeah, it's a good time. Good time to be positive and fun about the Kings. And so anyway, let's talk hoops.
Let's talk hoops. So did you get a chance to hear Scott Perry's comments today at all?
I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm up here in Tahoe, and I put my personal recreation and stuff ahead.
What is personal recreation for Jerry Reynolds include?
Walks and bike riding. I do ride bikes every day up here for half hour, and then I walk for about an hour. Try to every day. So that's it. Sometimes I kayak, but I don't. I always figure it's just a matter of time till I get run over by a boat. So so
the water up there is freezing too.
Yeah, it's not your friend if you're knocked off in it. So I don't want any part of that. So
I hear you. Well, let's talk about Summer League then. The Kings wrap up the California Classic. I'm sure you saw some of that. What were your first impressions of Darius Acuff and Emmanuel Sharp?
Well, I really think certainly Acuff will go with him first, obviously the first pick. And, he struggles shooting, but, man, you see the ability. The guy can really play off the dribble, can break people down. And I thought that first game, I thought the Nets did a really good job on him. They put a lot of size on him. They doubled him. And, it's not that you want to see him take 29 shots, but the truth is the fact he could get 29 shots is pretty amazing when you're being focused on like that. And the second game, it looked more like the game you'd expect from him. Clearly he's going to make threes, I think. And I think the only thing that we'll see I think as we go forward, especially when he gets with better players, he's going to really assist a lot more. I mean, he makes some pretty good passes, has great instincts. You see that, and very creative passer. Can use both right and left hands. He's not Jason Williams, but he's probably a better passer than anybody other than Jason that the Kings have had, I think. And so,
Wow.
so I think that'll show up more as we go. So, and then I guess the other part is I liked his effort on defense. He's not a stopper, and he's probably never going to be, and he's got things to learn. But the effort was there. Showed some toughness. So a lot of positives there. I think the Kings got a good one, got a real good one, and I think time will prove that. And then Sharp, I think we talked about it before, or I know maybe with the Kings Herald guys that I do a podcast with. Right after the draft, I said I'd happened to seen Sharp play a few times because I just love Kelvin Sampson, the coach in Houston. I just think he's the best, and how hard his teams always play. And I said, Sharp to me, I was surprised that maybe he was available. But I said, he's the next kind of a new version of Lou Dort. And I really think that's not too far off. I mean, the guy can make shots.
Mm-hmm.
He's got range. He doesn't have a great handle, but he can handle enough. And he is a defensive stopper. He's a bigger Davion Mitchell, if you will. The quick feet, the physicalness, really gets his body in front of people. He's one of those guys defensively. It just, if you had to play against him, kind of like Dort, you'd almost be thinking, boy, I got back spasms tonight. Can't go.
You're going to know you played against him. Yeah, he can put that body in front of you. And of the two, I think his body is more NBA ready than Acuff's. But to your point about the defense, Jared, he might not be a great defender. The effort was there, but there was some very simple things that are fundamentals when it comes to defense that some players don't really ever do. And he was doing them all the time. He either had his hands up or his hands out, and he's got that long wingspan, Jared.
Yeah, and I thought he had good instincts getting in passing lanes. So I think the instincts are there. It's just a matter of I think he's got to learn to get around screens better, navigate those things better. I don't care how good you are, you're going to get hooked up on some of them because that's why they call them screens. I mean,
oh, is that right?
And obviously there are some guys that really set great screens. I mean, Sabonis maybe being about the best, but but that he could do better at that, I think, and maybe stand in front of his man a little better. I mean, but he's on the right track, and I always say too. The thing we all have to remember, I mean, he's going to struggle some at times. He's 19 years old. I mean, it's like I always remember I've compared him to Kyrie Irving because I saw Kyrie a lot in college, not a lot because I played 8 or 10 games.
Yeah.
But he was the first pick, and it reminds me a lot of Kyrie. And Kyrie, as the first pick in the draft, proved to be that was the right pick as years went on. But he struggled out of the gate. The first 20 games, he was kind of overwhelmed. And I always remember our Isaiah Thomas just destroyed him in Cleveland, early in the year. And but that's what, 19-year-olds have to go through.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, too, about the passing. There was a couple of passes where I was like, whoa, because he swung them across court. The fact that he could even see that, very few players can make that pass. And Jerry was on target too, which was great. It looks like the change of speed, he can use his body pretty well. I saw that. I liked it. How do you feel about him and once we get to the regular season, how do you think he's going to be able to take that first bump from a defender? Is he going to be able to get knocked off his spot?
I think he's going to do pretty good that way. I mean, I think the biggest adjustment I think he might have, he was able to finish in college at the basket so well. Well, now you could even see the length and size inside bothered him a little bit, I thought, in these early pre. So he'll have to adjust to that. I mean, he's strong enough, but I just think he got surprised a little, got blocked a few times that probably he wasn't ready for, and that'll be a problem. That will take some time, but yeah, he's strong. He's got a nice strong body already for a 19-year-old, and you don't have to look too far out in the future to envision him another 10 pounds or so and still keeping his speed. And he's got that low center of gravity, which I like for a ball handler.
Great point.
It's always tough to get to the dribbler a lot if they really can keep that ball down there low.
Great point. He's got that ball on a string too. His
Yeah.
handle is very, very strong. And he told us after the game against the Nets that he felt like he got sped up. He sped himself up. And you saw a very concerted effort in his second game where it wasn't anything the defense was doing. He just kind of slowed down a little bit. So he is so just, Jerry, he's quiet. It seems like he's just very just basketball driven. He's a baller at heart.
Yeah, that's everything you hear, that really what he wants to do is really be good at basketball.
Yeah.
And that's been his thing. And, to me, it really does. I mean, the personality and how he approaches things, it really does remind me a little bit of Davion, just the work ethic and the commitment to the game. Now, he's a much younger, more talented version of that. But still, I mean, that's what you want. You want somebody that really likes to play the game and wants to work at it and feel like they need to get better.
100%. I was coming out of the draft, admittedly very high on Kingston Flemings because he's more of a true point guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I felt he was more of your traditional point guard instead of your lead guard. But to me, the most important play that Darius made this weekend or this past week was 29 shots. He had already shot, ball in his hands to win the game. And he made the right basketball play, Jerry, kicked it to Neek for the game winner.
Yeah, that I agree with you. I thought the same thing. I said this, he made the right, didn't hesitate, just instinctively knew what he needed to do out there. And that's encouraging. Yeah, I there's a lot to like, and it really gives, as a Kings fan, it gives you some hope, because I do think he's got a chance to be a star. And to your point, like with Kingston, I like Kingston Fleming a lot too, and I watched him in some, he's going to have shooting problems and a few things, but he's going to be real good. But I just thought for my own self that probably of the guards, I thought Acuff had the best chance of being a breakout star kind of player. And I still think that.
No doubt. We'll talk. I got one more question about him, but your buddy Tristan chiming in. He's been in the lab. He's going tennis. Jerry, is Djokovic still the best big match player in tennis, or has how do you say that? Sinner. Okay. Finally taken that from him. Their Wimbledon semifinals feels like a real old guard versus new guard test.
Well, I do think, and I hate that because I'm a big Djokovic fan. I think he's the best player that's ever played in the men's game. And his number of majors would prove that. And I love Dundal and Federer and a lot of guys. But, but he's got the most majors, so that makes – and he's still playing at a high level. But I don't think he's quite the same. I think Sinner and Alcaraz are both better players at this time. Doesn't mean he can't beat them. But they're probably, if they're going to play 10 times, they're probably both going to beat him 7 times. And so but I'm pulling for him. I want it to be one of the 3. I'd like to see him get another major. But I'm a big fan of him. And, it is kind of interesting, he and Djokovic, or he and Joker, are a big fan of friends and fans of each other. And, greatness, it kind of appeals to greatness.
Yes, it does. No doubt about it. I'm trying to get some of that to rub off to me from over here from you. What I love about Wimbledon is when the tournament's over, training camp's open for football. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that's a great thing. I'm kind of too, along with with the British Open coming up, the Open in a few weeks, that kind of ends the majors in golf, and then of course football preseason and training and all started. So, and basketball's not far off. It's a good world.
It's a good world.
When,
It's a better world.
I mean, as much as I love basketball, during football season, it's football. I've got a point now where, I can enjoy basketball, but, until the football season is well underway and teams are kind of determining each where they belong, then I can focus on basketball 100%.
100%. Did your buddy Travis Kelsey on your Chiefs send you the wedding invite to MSG?
I'm really pissed about that. Because really I set to send him a really expensive wedding gift. So no, that's exactly the kind of event. Had I been invited, I would have avoided like the plague.
What do you like if you're a guest at that wedding? What are you even getting them for their wedding?
Yeah, I think I'd get them a toaster. I don't care. I think that's what
Right.
because my guess is that nobody would. So you'd be getting them something they could use.
Some people were upset, some sports figures, that they had the wedding at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know why you needed to do that. You didn't have 19,000 people there. I mean, there's plenty of churches or other outside events that are beautiful or wherever. So yeah, you never. Yeah, they got a right to do it where they want to and they can afford it.
Yeah.
So I guess all I do is I just hope they have a happy marriage. I hope it works.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're obviously. Travis is probably near the end of his career. Maybe, I think this will be his last year. I kind of hope it is. And certainly even her career is, most of it's behind. So it's, it's really more important that they have a good marriage, good life together.
I don't know, Jerry. Her following is like, you've seen the effect with the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very close to your following.
Yeah, very
but,
similar. Yeah, very similar.
Not quite.
Yeah, she's getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, she's a marvelous talent. I'll give her that. I mean, just through the years, certain entertainers just have that special effect. Whether it's Beatles or Elvis,
Michael.
and then sports, Michael Jordan, and Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Certain athletes probably, basically and entertainers exceed their abilities. Really, that I always said. I mean, there's just some that there's probably other people that can sing as well or do this as almost as well, but they just don't click with the public.
So true. Very, very, very true. We'll get to more questions in the chat in a second. Is there anything this summer that you could see that will completely make your mind up about a player?
Yes. Well, I think there's things to reasons to really follow the summer league. I think with Nick Clifford and Cardwell and Sharp and certainly Acuff, would like to see the caravan get going and see what the Kings have there. But and just because you really like to find out how many of those guys you think could be not just roster guys, but maybe get playing time, consistency. And then for the second year player, like I say, with Nick Clifford and Cardwell, you want to see for sure they've improved. And I think the early returns are that they're, no reason to think they haven't, but you need to see it, more of it. I don't know how much more they'll play, but I would hope they play a couple more games at least.
I think Scott said that they will play, but they're probably not playing most of summer league. I thought Nick Clifford, there was some good. I thought he was more decisive. I thought his individual ability to make space for a shot was a little bit better. But Jerry, overall, I was completely disappointed with how he played in the California Classic.
The thing is, basically we had the same discussion, and I think the majority of people, like with Kings Herald fans and all would agree with you exactly. And my take on that is the problem I've got with him is he's good. He's pretty good at everything, but he's not really good at anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said, for a guy to really be a good NBA player, he has to have that something that's better than most. I mean, you can even take a guy that hung on the league a long time that was very limited, like a Doug McDermott, but he could really shoot, and that kept him in the league probably another 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I mean, and I think with just being a pretty good ball handler, a pretty good 3-point shooter, a pretty good defender, can play a couple of positions. That where does that go? I mean,
it's a great
point. So I guess that would be my opinion, and I think that's kind of where a lot of people might be at this stage.
Which of his skills do you think could be the area he could stand out at?
I think he could become a really good shooter, a good deep shooter. Okay. I think some of the problems I see, he's just a little bit slow pulling the trigger. I mean, when he has good looks, this is a league when you got a good look, you got to take it.
Spot on.
And no hesitations. And, he who hesitates is lost, or he who hesitates gets a tougher shot. I think that's what and that's to me what happens with him a little bit. He doesn't hardly ever seems like he's ready.
Right.
To his credit, he was on the big shot in that first game. But he really needs to be, I always said this about Keegan, but he needs to be ready to shoot and expecting to shoot and wanting to shoot. Until a guy gets there, he'll never be an outstanding shooter.
It's really rare that I say this, but I've watched Neek in practice. I've watched him after practice. I watched the games. His shot is so leg heavy. Jerry, have you noticed the same thing?
That's a great point. I hadn't really thought of it exactly, but yeah, I have. I mean, he's so much depending on that, and really reminds me. It always reminded me just a little bit in different ways of Ben McLemore. His shot looks good. Ben's always looked great, but he didn't make it. I mean, and he didn't. I always remember when Ben was a rookie and everybody's all excited, and I kept, was doing just basically strictly TV there, and I bet I'd go out and watch him work out and stuff, and I noticed that, before games he'd shoot 20 shots from the corner, and he hit 7. It's like, well, Mike Bibby would hit 18, Pedro would hit 18, really good shooters. And it's like, they look really good. I mean, till the ball got to the rim, then it didn't go in.
Neek is either short or he's long.
Yeah.
It's nothing in between. It's on target most times.
Well, that's a good sign because great shooters will miss long and short.
Okay.
I mean, I always say the real great shooters, whether it's from Jerry West to Bird to Curry to Reggie Miller, they're on target. A bad shooter will miss long, short, left, right.
Right. Very good point.
You got 4 ways of missing as opposed to 2.
You have a way of pointing out the most basic fundamental things about different things in basketball, but it's just brilliant still at the same time.
Well,
you can miss 4 different ways. So true.
Yeah, it really isn't that. I always say basketball, we always try to make it more complicated than it is. And certainly in today's game, in all sports, when you have to have 10 assistant coaches and 18 coordinator video and all that, you have to convince people that you could, basically it's nuclear science of some type, and
it's a good
it
point.
really isn't.
It's a very good point. Peter says, Mr. Reynolds, as a 2-time author, should Grant Napier write a book or start a travel blog channel of his visits to Thailand and Vietnam? And do you have a passport?
I do have a passport. It might be it might be run out. I don't know. I haven't checked lately. I don't intend to use it. But
Exactly.
That's a good question. But that's a great suggestion. I'll pass that on. You might pass that on to Grant. I think it would be kind of interesting. I think he has a lot of people interested in, what he's doing and where he's living and different things. And Grant likes to travel. It might be something. And really, he probably, with the career Grant's had and some of the unfair crap that's happened to him, he probably ought to write a book. I think there'd be a lot of interest, especially now that that the cancel culture crap is kind of went away.
Mm-hmm. He told me about when we were on Fox. He told me about a time, and I think he referenced you in the story where the airplane got hit by lightning, and everybody freaked out except him. He thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
Well, I was one of them freaked out, so I wouldn't know how cool he was. But but I know, that was, as I recall, I think that was the trip we took into Reagan National, and about the first or second, it was early in the term. I don't know, but we all. I think we thought maybe this was it, and I know I remember time I was scared because I saw a stewardess, and she was sitting in kind of a little seat, and happened to look at her, and she was crying. So, I thought that that might be it. But that, hey, 30 years, 35 years of it, and didn't fall once.
There you go. Good sample.
But I was gonna say though, I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to Grant. I don't know how cool he was. It's easy to say that with no witnesses.
Well, and you know what? He's just so different when it comes to the travel stuff. He could tell you the flight numbers of a flight leaving New York right now. He can give you all the abbreviations for the airport.
Yeah.
He can give you the different connections. Like,
oh, that was
just
something. Yeah, I remember sitting on an airplane. He'd be in every plane to fly. He'd tell what kind it was and blah, and this, that, the other. I said, I just need to know what this one is.
Will it get there reliably?
Yeah.
How many hours is on this thing?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Flores, Jerry, if you're coaching this current Kings roster, what would you like to see offensively and defensively this season?
Well, just a couple of things, I think. Because I would like to see at times, if Sabonis is here, he and Ryno playing together. I would kind of like and hope Doug might try the old Rick Adelman offense with the two bigs at the elbow, and they're both good passers, and that way you'd get a little more cutting and spacing. And certainly with guys like Levine, they don't really need to be handling the ball; they need to be shooting it or moving, and kind of a Peja Stojakovic type thing, and it forces more of that. And I don't know if that'd be your best lineup all the time, but I think you could do that. And with that lineup, I think then I'd like to see a lot more zone. Because you could, with Ryno and Sabonis, neither are really good defenders, and certainly Acuff isn't. So, but Keegan is, and Sharp's on the floor. He is, and so Hunter is when he plays. Precious Achua is. So you got some ways to play, but I think the zone probably could be used more and more effectively. So those would be some things. It's Coach Christie's got a tough go because this is a different type of year, and you need to try to win a lot of games because there's no advantage in being one of the worst now.
Yeah, I'll be interested to get your thoughts once you hear Scott's comments. I thought it was pretty clear that the vets are going to have to fit in with the young guys that are still here. And Jerry, it doesn't mean that you don't use the vets correctly and play towards their strengths, but that's really how it should be with this rebuild.
Well, I do think I'd put it even maybe simpler. Is just, I still think get your best players on the floor, because there's no downside to doing that, with the current rules in the draft, because you need to win games and you need to create value with your assets.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no advantage in play, especially and with younger players, if they're not good enough and they haven't earned their minutes. I don't think you do them a service by just giving them minutes. I think that'll come back to bite you in the ass every time.
It's funny. You and I'm gonna go on Diz Gone Wild 916's side. You and I differ on this. I don't think Max is as bad of a defender as you think.
Yeah, the reason I really question how he just doesn't stay in front of guys around the basket. He gets beat off the dribble in close. I think he can be. He's got great instincts. But I'll just say this: I've never seen a center or a big that's a really good defender that's as straight up as he is. He really doesn't get in good deep. Get that center of gravity lower. You really kind of need to get your center of gravity lower than the guy you're guarding. It makes you about a half step quicker. And so I thought that was a real problem with him. But, his reactions,
Mm-hmm.
And timing and stuff's outstanding. But at some point, you can't let people beat you, especially in that 6-7 foot area.
Yeah. I can't argue with you about being beat one-on-one when you're down in that 6-7 foot area, but I thought there was a lot of times last season that he just took the wrong angles, but he was getting a tough shake because the guys in front of him couldn't defend anybody. And, he's getting put into very difficult defensive situations for any big man in the league.
Oh, that's a great point. I mean, he got the Sabonis treatment. You got guys straight line drives coming at you. I mean, you're like a goalie with a guy coming at him one-on-one. I mean, you got no, you might get a block shot now and then, but that's a good point. I mean, he's young and he certainly showed some toughness in my mind. He's not a soft guy. But I think it's just a few minor little things. But that's why I think a zone would be good for him. Allow him to use his instincts a little more, and help, and really not have to worry about a particular guy, a matchup situation.
And you know what? I think to further that point, that could be an area where teams could really have a field day on the Kings. If they don't, they will just target a matchup and get them into foul trouble early in the periods. Like Neek had 3 fouls within the first 4 minutes of the game against the Bucks. He was in early foul trouble in the first game, and Braden Burries just kind of had his way wherever he wanted to go with Neek, and you could just kind of spotlight different matchups on the floor. And then the last thing you want, Jerry, if you're Doug Christie and the Kings, is to be playing slow, bogged down basketball.
No, they really, with Acuff, they really need to, I think, figure out how to get in his hands quicker and have him pushing it. And not that you want him to play off the dribble all the time, but he can throw it ahead, but get the ball in the guy's hands that can make a play. What you don't want, in my mind, and fans might say it, you don't want the old, well, whoever's got the ball, push it up. No, I don't want to see Levine pushing it up.
No.
That to me, I don't think that works for you. I'd rather play slower than try to play fast when you can't play fast. Let's play fast and then have 15 extra turnovers. Well, that's going to get you beat.
Spot freaking on. Scott Perry talked about it today, and he said, well, I'm not so sure that we don't have guys that can bring it up and initiate it. And I'm sure if you ask Zach LaVine, he doesn't want to bring it up either. He wants to get to his corners. He wants to come off screens. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Zach's been around long enough. He knows who he is and what he is. And it's like, say, I'm pretty sure he'd love to see Acuff have the ball in his hands a lot more and him less. But get it to him when he's ready to shoot it.
Absolutely. I don't know if this is a real player question. The Kings traded Devin Carter plus 2033 second round pick for 30-year-old Frenchman Alpha Kaba. What are your thoughts on this trade? Alpha
well,
Kaba,
I don't think you probably want to hold your breath for Alpha
30-year-old.
Cava sighting, but I don't know. But I mean, it was a dump, really. Let's face it. They're really the team, right or wrong, felt that Carter didn't have a future with them, and I think that's probably true. It doesn't mean he didn't have a future, but I think with this team in the now and in the immediate future, there just wasn't much time. And it's kind of sad because I don't think Devin ever really got a fair chance, and not all. Some of it, none of it really his fault to speak of. I mean, rookie year was wasted due to injury. Second year, he's on a team that the GM didn't draft him, and so he kind of, and then you brought in two older veteran points, and so they're that played a lot of minutes. So I thought, in my mind, the final thought on Devin is I think he might find a niche in the league eventually, but it's probably going to be as a off the bench defender. Kind of a Gary Payton Jr. kind of thing. Find a niche because he was a tough, scrappy kid. You could see that, but his ball handling I thought was really questionable, and shooting obviously very suspect too. I mean, so most of that can be improved, but anyway. But I think that'll be a way that he could carve out a niche, but he's going to have to probably find the right team and kind of get to that spot, to where he can be a 15-minute guy that just goes out there and gets into somebody.
He could travel. He could cover some space and get to places with the basketball. The problem was they were just the wrong places to pick up the ball most times.
Yeah, I think you hit it there, or get into paint and it's like, oops.
Oh, what am I doing?
Why did I pick up the ball in here? But it's long arms. You rebound well for a guard defensively, so there's something there. But I certainly understand why the team did what they did.
I wonder, and the only thing that could have been against Devin Carter is if he didn't disclose that shoulder injury and the Kings didn't know about it. If you're in that position as general manager, can that even happen with a player or a prospect?
Well, it can. I mean, but I thought it was pretty well common knowledge when he came out of college that he had a shoulder issue and was likely going to have surgery. So I think with Monty McNair and them, they felt, as it turns out, I mean, they felt wrongly that he at 13 was a good pick, that because I know there were at that time it wasn't a particularly good draft, but there were people saying, well, some scouts had him higher than that.
Tristan De Silva who's in Orlando. The Kings could have had him, and that was exactly what they needed at the time.
Yep.
Somebody that could defend and shoot the 3-pointer.
Yeah, that's the thing, and almost every year, you run into that. I mean, we've talked about before. I mean, it's like, well, I think about the last 4 MVPs have been late drafts.
Yeah.
So I mean, clearly being drafted 1, 2, or 3, or 4 doesn't mean you're getting the top 4 players.
Yep.
Now, maybe this year it will be that way, but year to year, and I've spent way too much time in my life looking at past drafts and how they played out and who should have been taken where and that sort of thing.
Sure. So a couple of things that I want to talk to you about really quick. The back end of this, where Peter mentioned second round picks. Are you seeing a shift? So giving up a second round pick is now the going value to dump some salary. But are you seeing a little bit of a shift now that NIL is in place and the rules that the NCAA has of the value dropping on second round picks because players can go back to school, push their agents to tell teams they're not going to sign, etc.?
Oh yeah, I think that's going to be more of a problem going forward. I really do. And it's a great point. Uh, because they can find out, you know, with a reasonable time frame, if they're likely to go in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, it's like, well, let me stay in school another year and make 5 million or 4 million. Now I don't know how long that's going to last, but as long as until the college sports gets under some level of sanity, that will affect the second round because just makes no sense and have a very comfortable lifestyle, and then really with that kind of money, buy your own self insurance to protect yourself against a career-ending injury.
That's right.
And on that, it's like last year. I think there was some severe talk or serious talk with Cooper Flagg staying in school.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, his parents weren't destitute; they weren't wealthy, but he was making a lot of money and enjoyed himself. And I think had he not been the consensus number one, I think even if he had been fourth or fifth, he might have been one of those guys to stay in anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the players are getting more and more leverage, which is in players that aren't even in the NBA yet, which is so interesting to me because there was a number of guys that said, no, we'll just choose our team in free agency that's a better fit if you're not going to give us guaranteed contract. So it makes that kind of interesting on that side of things. Now, on the other side of things, at the top of the league, Jer, do we need to completely change how we think about what a max player in the NBA is under this CBA?
Oh, you're going to have to. Well, I think the Durant thing is a clear indicator, that he did make third team and deservedly had a terrific regular season, really had a poor playoff, but he was eligible for 270 or 80 million or whatever it was, $250 million. Well, there's no team in the league would give him that, even if they had the room. And that's why the Detroit thing's going on, because they're not going to give him that. And his agent wants that, and he wants that. And so they're out there trying to find something closer to that, which they're not going to. But eventually, they've got his rights restricted, and they'll say, "Oh, you finally got an offer sheet for 130 million. We'll give you 135."
Right. Exactly.
And that'll be that. But yeah, it's I even see, even for guys like Donovan Mitchell, I saw where he signed at 200. I mean, he's really good, top 15 guy in the league. But to me, in my mind, and this may be just old school talking, but Supermax means you're a guy who has the ability to be the best player on a championship team.
Okay.
I mean, anything less than that, you're not.
So it's so funny that you say that, because between the Jaylen Brown, because to me, that was Boston dumping his contract.
Yeah, that's what that was. Exactly.
And getting off of it early, even though Paul George is a worse player, he expires sooner. But my criteria for a max player is a guy that every single team in the NBA would put as their first player on the roster. And I could only count maybe 6 of them right now. Like, if you're going to use that criteria, you'd say Wemby, Giannis, Luka, who else?
I think Joker, SGA.
Those were the other 2. And then the 6th was Brunson.
And Brunson, yeah. Yeah, I think those for sure. I don't know that you'd put anybody, else there. I mean, I think there are some that might get to that, but they haven't done enough. I mean, I actually might put Jaylen Brown there, truthfully. I wouldn't put Tatum there. That's the difference I've got. I just feel like Brown is a significantly better all-around player. Now, Boston made that choice, and whatever. And of course, I understand that going ahead and feel like, well, we need to, we can't have 2 guys making $70 million a year. I get that. My only problem was it's kind of like the Luka Doncic trade, where I think that was a lot to do with money. They didn't want to be in the but if you're going to do that, give every team a chance. And I don't think they did. It's like if I'm Boston, about the last place I'd want to trade him is to Philly. Hey, if you're the Kings, would he be the best player on the Kings? By far.
Not even a thought about that. I would throw, you know what? I did say Ant yesterday. I would throw Ant in that group.
Oh,
but
yeah. But he hadn't quite, yeah. He could get there. He should get there.
I can't put Curry in that group because of his age.
Not anymore.
We're talking right now. Yeah.
Right now, no. And, and LeBron really probably isn't either right now. I mean, he's close, but 5 years ago, he was it.
Yep. Yeah, that's where it started. He was the number one. You're spot on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Landing spot for DeRozan. What do you think?
I think Toronto probably, but I think there's going to be several teams calling. I really think there's legitimate interest now. Because they know he'll take wherever he fits best. The money's probably his secondary. Finally, he's getting that. But I think Toronto would make a lot of sense. If they don't get that are in the LeBron out there, they're not going to sign DeRozan until they know what LeBron's going to do. And not that they're comparing the two, but they can't take, they wouldn't want both of them.
You probably know better than me, but I spoke to somebody that covers the NBA on a national basis, and they said they've been told that camp is in no rush to make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I was just the thing with LeBron, and I can tell you in my own opinion what I think. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but no, he's gonna milk it for all it's worth. I mean, we may, he's going to jerk the league around, half the teams around.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I really don't like about him there. It's just almost disrespectful sometimes. And I've always said I don't know if there's enough mustard to put on that hot dog.
Well, and I know you have a relationship with Rich Paul, but when Rich Paul goes on a podcast and he talks about part of the criteria being if the team doesn't win a championship, LeBron being blamed for it, saying that Jalen Brunson would need to pick up the phone and say it's okay to come to New York, as Patrick is pointing out, if the Knicks move McBride or Clarkson, could they get him for the minimum? It's just, Jerry, it's too much. And the sad thing for LeBron, and we did talk about it last week, is LeBron doesn't need to do anything to get extra attention. He's LeBron.
He's LeBron. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just can't imagine great players of the past, some of them conducting themselves the same way. They know, because they know who they are.
Yes.
And everybody else does. And but yeah, I think with Rich Paul, and I like him, but I think sometimes he forgets that he is a power agent because of one guy, and one guy only. Now that's created a whole different dynamic, but that's that's the way with agents. They get that superstar, and then David Falk gets Michael Jordan, and all of a sudden he starts getting Patrick Ewing and Mutombo and other North Carolina stars, James Worthy. I mean, so one thing leads to another, and that's kind of what with Rich. And to his credit, he had no background, but LeBron chose him. He's done a good job for LeBron, but I don't think he's doing a good job for LeBron now. And the reason I say that is I don't think he's speaking out of. Unfortunately, I think he is saying pretty much what LeBron wants him to say.
Instead of actually advising his client on what's best.
Yeah, well, I don't think he I don't think he gives a lot of advice to LeBron. I don't think anybody gives a lot of advice to LeBron. I think he's his own entity, kind of.
Have you ever called a player an entity before?
I really haven't, no.
There's a first. We got to get you out here in a second. Question from Peter about Duran. I think that was all just trying to get an offer sheet favor, either on the Kings side and or Detroit side, taking the meetings. You?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's their agents doing the right thing. Detroit doing the right thing. They got a qualifying offer on him. He's restricted. They're not going to lose him. You know, if somebody offers him 80 million a year, then Detroit will lose him because they ain't going to pay him that. But there's no team in the league that has $80 million cap room, and so you have to have the cap room to take a offer a free agent that kind of money, and so it comes down to sign and trade. Well, there again, now sign and trade, you can't do it if the other team don't want to do it.
Yeah, very
So,
true.
so I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of things can happen, but I think we always said, a couple of weeks, a month, he'll sign the Pistons probably for 4 years and $150 million, something like that, or 5 years, something. It's going to be in that range. But they his agent felt like, hey, we're eligible for the Supermax, and well, yeah, you're eligible, but that's where teams. It's going to change. Being eligible for something doesn't mean you're going to get it. And that teams have got to be smarter, because if you sign a guy for a long-term deal and he turns out to not be worth the money, as Kings certainly know that, and every team does, they have contracts that they wish they hadn't signed, and so. And when one of the great franchises, as you just pointed out, they basically make a trade, which I don't know how good it is, because they just don't want to and can't have two guys taking up 70% of the or 80% of the cap.
Let's put it this way, and Patrick, I'll fix that for you. The Kings have a 49 million and just over 50 million guy in Domantas Sabonis and DeRozan, and look at how their hands are tied, right? The Kings relatively have small contracts on the books with guys that are going to be playing significant minutes. When you get into the numbers that you're talking about, Jerry, it's insane.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you just can't make a mistake. I mean, you really have to. I mean, in other words, if they gave Duran that kind of money, and of course with Cade Cunningham, now all of a sudden your franchise is tied to those two guys, and really it's almost no room to improve. And you got beat in the first round of the playoffs last year.
Bingo. Nailed it.
I mean, we're and like I say, Duran, I thought is a terrific player, but you wouldn't put him as probably one of the top 4, 5 centers in the league yet. I mean, I think he can get there, but still, so anyway, it's if the Kings, if I run the Kings and I had 60 million in cap room, I wouldn't make the offer.
Nope, I'm with you. Patrick meant DeRozan. Do you think New York could be an opportunity or possibility?
Yeah, I think it could. I mean, I think he fits. We've talked about this before. I was surprised with some teams that needed scoring, like Houston. Some of them didn't really understand they needed scoring until it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly could see. I could see New York. I could see Miami. If here again the LeBron thing. Toronto, I still think probably maybe leads the pack, and I think Houston, if they wake up and realize this, Fred VanVleet ain't gonna solve all your problems. So.
So true. There is a world for certain teams that I think DeRozan is a better fit than LeBron. As silly as that sounds.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think there's some, that already have their star power in place, to where you really want that guy. With a guy like DeRozan, I mean, you want a guy that can get you 15 off the bench and be productive doing it. And I think as a Kings fan, we all, I think, feel very confident that he would do that, and he's a good soldier. I always say one of the biggest mistakes I think the franchise made was not cutting to the chase early when, of getting him to as an off the bench scorer, and getting through the hurt feelings and all that kind of stuff early on, and it might have worked better for everybody, but it didn't. So that's spilt milk.
Yep. All right. 2 last questions. Cade is right on the fringe of a max guy for me. Right on the fringe. Definition of fringe.
Oh yeah, I think Cade is yeah. I would say if I'm Detroit, that'd be one guy you wouldn't want to lose. You might, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got to do. I still think he's got to do more, but yeah, I think he will, and I think he's close to being one of those top 5 or 6 we just talked about. Yeah, yeah, I think Cade Cunningham will get there. Totally agree.
100%. All right. Last question, and then we will get you out. And we appreciate your time so much. In your opinion, as we sit today, before we see the Kings play in Vegas, is the backup point guard on their roster right now, or do they still need to go out and get one?
Well, it'd be nice if I think they could stand getting one, but I also think it depends on how they play. But I think, obviously Acuff's going to be a 32 to 35 minute guy. And so, but I do think that Malik Monk and Sabonis, uh, can play, if you play through Sabonis more when Acuff's not on the floor and Monk is on is certainly capable of doing it. We've seen him do it. Uh, you know, we've seen him get a little carried away, but I don't. I think they could get by that way. I'd rather them do that than sign somebody that will be a mistake. I mean, if they, to me, just I saw. I think on people bringing up Gabe Vincent, for instance. A guy like that'd be fine.
Sure.
He's an NBA player. He's played on good teams. He can really shoot the ball. Uh, yeah, but I'd rather do that than go get, in all honesty, Westbrook again, and certainly Russ is a good player, but I don't disagree. I mean, I don't know that Westbrook would be as good a mentor to a point guard as he was to Ryno. I think Russ is absolutely one of the greatest to ever lace him up, but I don't. I think there's a reason why he's been lately. Once his greatness, slipped a bit, that he's been on a lot of teams. So I would pass on that personally, and we disagree on that one.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I'm not even going to bring up with Westbrook the shots, the amount, the decisions in that area. Jerry, if the Kings want to play fast, you cannot bring Russell Westbrook back. He never last season threw the ball ahead up court. It was always bringing it up, even in a fast break situation, and that just killed their pace. Killed it.
Well, the thing, I guess, for me, I love the Russell Westbrook in his career, and I honestly, I guess what I want him to retire, be a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever do it. I don't want him to try to play till somebody drags his uniform off of him.
Yeah,
I've seen that with, one of my heroes, Oscar Robertson, just played too long. I always thought it was a great thing about Jerry West. He retired when he was still a top level player. And, and I don't know. That's just me. I mean, he has nothing to prove. He's bounced around these last 4 or 5 years as a backup guy and then got to play as a starter. There's, he doesn't need the money.
No.
Only thing he can do is hurt his legacy. That's the only thing that's left to do at this stage is hurt his legacy. And that's what I hate, because I just think, young fans might forget, 6, 7 years ago, he was the guy.
Yep. Yep.
He was
MVP.
He was must-see TV. He was, I mean, a triple-double guy every game, balls out every game, best defender on the floor every game. So that's the way I look at it.
Last week I said he became the all-time leader in assists. It was actually points for point guards. There's not another opportunity in the NBA that is even close to what he had last year in Sacramento, which basically he was the team to some degree. The team had to adjust to him rather than Russ adjusting to the team. And with that opportunity not available, if it's not going to be available in Sacramento, Jerry, you're spot on. Go out.
Yeah, the other thing, and I certainly don't want to dump on Russ, because he's I think he did handle things well. But what I go back to is Rick Adelman and Jason Williams. When the Kings drafted Jason Williams, 7th pick, and didn't really. I always remember Rick saying, because they were talk about getting a veteran, a veteran to play behind him and all that stuff. And he said, we picked him 7th. He's got the talent. We're going to trot him out there first day and let him grow into it and make him grow into it faster. And we'll find somebody, kind of, which I think was like John Barry and different guys, that, could play some and give him. But it was Jay Will's show.
Spot on. I'm with you. And Adelman, I think that worked out pretty well for the Kings.
I think it did too. And and really, and too, looking back at Fox, they got George Hill to be his mentor, and I thought it just set him back a year. That's the only thing it accomplished was set back, slowed Fox's development rather than Jay Will. It just speeded it up.
Very well said. Hey, you still have all 10 fingers after 4th of July? Are they still all there? Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I didn't go outside, so there's no chance. Fireworks would have to get me inside. They have to break in and light one on me.
Yeah, you don't want that. Where I live, they sent drones up. And
really?
And so anybody that was lighting off illegal fireworks, they would send the drone over there. They were taking pictures of the people and the houses. And so get this, Jerry, 3 drones issued, it was 41 citations.
Ooh.
Each citation was $1,000, but they capped citations at $10,000. Off of those 3 drones, how much money do you think they made? Or they charged?
Well, it sounds like they could have probably got $20,000 or $30,000, probably.
$440,000.
What? Holy cow!
$440,000. Yeah, people are going to think twice about doing that.
They are. It's such a, I mean, I'd like anybody, I'd love to see him, everything, but in California today, with all the risks and everything, I know there's kids setting them off in the cul-de-sac where I am, but they were, the sparkler kind of stuff that was, it's illegal. There wasn't any real danger. But, and so you want kids to have fun, but yeah, you don't want to. Anyway, yeah, it does seem a little over the top, though. I know. Hate to be paying $1,000, but then again, if you bought something illegal, that's,
I mean, I honestly don't have a problem with it because just what you said, it was a windy night, 4th of July, and it just takes one misfire.
Yeah, it does. Well, it's still a lot of houses have the wood shingle roofs and everything.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, yeah, it's looking forward to the summer league though tomorrow. Gets Vegas started, and I really am looking forward to it more than I have in a long time, and so I'll get right in my recliner at some point, and I'll just watch a lot of them. I was going to say, I don't know if you got a chance to watch. I watched Fleming's and Peterson play, and Boozer.
Yeah.
Boozer and Peterson both look terrific. They definitely look like they can be top level players pretty quick.
I was going to ask you earlier, did some of us overthink it with Peterson? Because he looks that good.
Well, I think so. I mean, the fact he went second doesn't make any difference, but it probably looks like that he should have been first or second. The only thing I was talking to Whitey Gleason today about this, and I said, the thing I never thought I'd say, but I got to kind of question Bill Self at this stage because, with Peterson, he played off the ball all the time. He played a counselor, I think, somebody, at point, and Peterson averaged 1.7 assists for the season. Well, you never saw any playmaking, and so I did, and clearly now you see it. He really has some ability to make plays, and so I don't know. My son's a big Kansas fan, and he said, "Well, we're going to have to reevaluate self." I said, "Well, give him one more year. He's only won 2 championships, so give him another year. I think Bill will be okay." But yeah, he looked great. Fleming's, I think is going to be. He's 19. He's a little small. Obviously, shooting has been a real problem so far.
Mm-hmm.
But you see that, boy, he is fast.
He's
He
quick.
is really fast, and I like the team he's on. I mean, it should really work for him, because what they're looking for is just what you said. I mean, he's a point guard, lead guard, and they got guys, they got their stars.
Yes,
And
exactly
so
right. They need the straw that stirs the drink.
that's
and
exactly, yeah. So I think, if what's all said and done, heck, he might be the most valuable of the group.
We'll see. I had Utah even before they drafted Peterson in the top 6 next year. I think it's
Well, they can be good.
Yeah,
they can really be good. And it's like they're Ace Bailey, who's a really good player, but he might be, is good enough. He's really good, but he may be a 6-man kind of guy.
which isn't a bad 6-man.
No, that's what you want, is a guy who's super talented.
Yeah.
Kind of, like during the Kings' great years with Bobby Jackson's, which sorry to hear him leaving the Kings. That's too bad, but I'm sure he's got his reasons. And
he's going to transition out. He'll be here through the summer, and then that will be it for him. But yeah, we'll see who replaces him on the coaching staff and what this turns into. Pop your popcorn, get some rest, enjoy the nice weather, and can't tell you how much I appreciate you each week, buddy.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I really enjoy the questions. I mean, now that Tristan's not asking me wrestling questions and stuff, that's that helps. It's kind of getting to my strengths, if I have any, at least. So I like that. But yeah, I enjoy the heck out of it. So
you're the best.
See you guys next week.
The views have gone like crazy on Wednesdays now. Like YouTube's up to 1,000. The downloads on the podcast are over 1,000 for each episode. So that's all because of you, bud.
Well, it's just probably a lot of older women there, just seeing how pretty I am and everything.
Hey, Mrs. Reynolds might need to get her stick out to fight them off.
If she heard that, she'd come down and smack me.
All right, I don't want to get you any more trouble. Have a great night.
All right, see you guys.
I appreciate you. Anyone better than him? I'll wait. The answer is no. Jerry's so good. He is absolutely the best. Yeah, Mrs. Reynolds probably doesn't need a stick. She can probably take care of that on her own. Let's see. Yeah, Tristan, man, you made an impact. You have cursed Jerry Reynolds with wrestling.
Let me finish. I was going to say, you are cursed.
Tristan, how do you curse Jerry Reynolds with wrestling when we do a wrestling segment on Fridays? That should be coming from me, yet you found a way to do it. Valanciunas, July 6, 2026, waived by Denver, leaves behind $2 million in dead cap. It was interesting last year how he leveraged going back overseas to get more money. Good job by him. Wear a mask and go to the park. Look, I'm just at the point in my life, and maybe I'm going to sound like that old man. If you want to shoot them off and they're not going to hit my house, I will enjoy them. But, you just see so many damn accidents. The one thing that we had, I don't want to get into like this crazy offside conversation, but Horse and I were talking about this last night, is we had some knucklehead that put dry ice into a soda bottle. And we thought World War III had started. Like the walls of our house shook. Everybody in the neighborhood came outside. Like, what was that? We found out that it was that. So I don't know. I mean, fireworks, just fireworks. Is it that big of a deal? It's kind of like wearing jerseys as adults. Like at some point, like it passes you by. It just does. And by the way, can I give all of you Kings fans that can hear my voice a standing ovation for what you have done with the number 5 jerseys here in Sacramento. You have done something that I think might stick on with the Kings marketing, where if you're not familiar with it, people have been putting duct tape, painter's tape, whatever it might be, over the name on their 5 jerseys. So most of them would have been Fox, not Clifford. And they're writing in Acuff Jr. We saw a ton of them at the California Classic, and it was hilarious. Like it was trending. It's pretty good. You know what? That might be a jersey that I would get. If they did something with that, I would get a t-shirt that was kind of like the jersey style. You know what was bad when the NBA had the jerseys that had sleeves? That was regrettable. Like the gold jerseys that the Kings had back in the day. I always give Mike Bibby a really hard time about those. Those were brutal. Brutal. Like he had control over it, but oh my God, those things were the worst. Would be cool if the Kings were his last team. LeBron? I hope not. Oh, Westbrook. Gotcha. You know what? Hey, I will say this, Diz Gone Wild. Not a popular take, but I would not put it by your owner raising a Westbrook jersey into the rafters because he broke some records here, career records. That would be also regrettable, but it would be cool if the Kings were his last stop. Speaking of stops, it's been a stop and go kind of career for Keegan Murray offensively. Scott Perry, and something Jerry and I talked about last week, Jerry said this is the year that Keegan needs to do something. Well, not something, excuse me. Keegan needs to step up more offensively. Scott Perry talked about that today, and I think Scott Perry, in his own ways, echoed those sentiments. Here was what Scott Perry had to say about Keegan Murray. Again, I apologize for the audio quality, only one ear, but it does give you the video format. Scott Perry on Keegan.
Just hoping for him to get back to how he broke into the league. Keegan is a highly sought-after player, too. You know, you're talking about a 6'8", 6'9", two-way wing player. Those positions are very valuable in this league. And so we just expect him to now come in. He's healthy. He's trending in the right direction. Get back to shooting the basketball like he was from the perimeter, attacking the rim better than before, and then being that versatile defender that he is. So he's been great. He's really embraced these young guys. He's wanted to be around. You saw him at the Cal Classic, and so he has a real interest in them and this organization, and he wants to be a part of turning this thing around and building a winner.
That was Scott Perry on Keegan Murray. Obviously looking for Keegan to get back to where he was offensively when he came into the league. I think it's fair. Keegs looks good. He's been in SAC working, been around the guys, definitely trying to take a leadership role with them. And then lastly, Scott was asked about the team's identity.
Again, I don't, in all transparency, I don't think we achieved what we wanted to achieve last season in terms of that identity. This year, we've got to be much further along in that. And again, that is, we want to be the hardest working, hardest playing team in the league. That's got to be our North Star. And so that has to be established this year and built upon throughout the season.
Spot on. You got to play hard. But if you're just joining us, we are wrapping up the Wednesday edition of the Kings Court Jerry Reynolds Wednesday. Takeaways, if you're just joining us from today's press conference, this is going to be the young guys. This is their team. It's going to run through them. It's going to be really on the vets to fit in to what the Kings are going to try to do with the youth movement and also pour in to the youth and hopefully get them further along. And as I said earlier, really the floor, if that's what this is going to be, and I've kind of said that all along to many of you, That's the olive branch of Doug Christie still being here in Sacramento, the youth movement. If that's what it's going to be, what Scott just said, the floor has to be effort every single night. These guys playing for their NBA jobs. I think that's why Scott Perry strategically has left a third spot as a two-way player open on this roster to see if somebody can grab it. Is it going to be Markel Sutton? Is it going to be somebody else in training camp? I don't know, but it's going to be that kind of atmosphere. So a lot of good stuff. I think Scott's actions are in line with his words. And although 22 wins doesn't show it, I think him and Doug, I think there's some good stuff brewing, some stuff that I'm willing to sit back and give them a little more runway to prove it to me on the court, especially if you are going to be playing the young guys and growing what many people feel is the franchise quarterback in Darius Acuff. My buddy Rich in San Diego got a Fox jersey. What is the best way to cover up Fox with Acuff Jr.? So, Rich, they've been fans everywhere. It's been duct tape, it's been masking tape, or it's been painter's tape. They've been writing Acuff Jr. over it. It's hilarious. You know what? My son has a Fox jersey. I'm going to do that to his jersey tonight. It's exactly what I'm going to do, which means I need to get out of here. Hey, appreciate everybody. He should wear his cash considerations jersey to Kings practice and media events. Yeah, that would be funny. Walk in a Kings jersey covering the Kings. I'm sure that'll go over well. But I might do it if it said cash considerations on the back. I might do it. All right, we're back tomorrow. Speaking of being back, join Grant tonight, 7 o'clock. Appreciate everybody. Looking forward to finishing out the week. We'll be all over Vegas Summer League. And then certainly next week, Jerry will have back Wednesday to talk about Summer League. Anything else happens, we will be back. I don't anticipate it, though. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Would love to have you. And yeah, thanks for being here. My thanks to Jerry Reynolds. And we will see you tomorrow. All right, Court out for the day. Good night. Have a good one.